Now, understandably, the frontal view is always a nice one to have, but in the same breath it's quite nice to look at them from this angle. You can get a great idea of how their paws and feet maneuver and work, and also how big they are. It's also important to realize how quickly he's walking now, and how much distance he's covered in just a short space of time. He's probably moved half a mile since we first got visual of him, and just goes to show that they can cover huge distances and do cover huge distances, which makes tracking them down difficult. Even if I was walking on these tracks behind him, it would be a brisk walk to keep up with him. Quite a lot of banter on Twitter mentioning that he is looking fairly hungry, and yes, he could do with the meal, certainly. He's not full-bellied, and maybe that's also causing him to move with a little bit more intent than normal. If he continues along this road, it'll be very interesting to see whether he detects Kunyuma and his kill. What's acting in Kunyuma's favor at the moment is that the kill that he's just made has not been opened yet, and he hadn't started feeding on it. Therefore, the scent of blood and meat would not be very strong. So that may mean the lion could walk straight past meters within meters of the kill before, or actually, and not actually notice that it's there. But if he did notice it was there, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Sorry? Yeah. And Steph's just pointed out a very good fact, and that is that animal senses are incredibly powerful, and may have even from a very long distance off have heard that impala, that duiker bleating in distress, and maybe that's why he's heading straight in that direction. So another good point, and always great having another guide around, because especially an experienced one, because there's so much you can learn and share with one another within this industry. There's obviously there are right and wrong theories, but there's always different ways of looking at things and analyzing situations, and having other field guides' opinions and thoughts on the matter is always great for just chatting and debating and discussing the potential, because that's so often what we are doing. Is we are guessing and estimating and using prior knowledge and prior experience to apply to what may be happening currently. But the main thing that we all learn early on in our guiding careers is that you can never be certain of anything out here, and you need to be open-minded and aware that these animals are all different themselves and have different personalities, and different places, different animals, different scenarios can unfold. Get ahead of this lion, and there's a small parkway here that takes us past a dried up little water hole and then links us onto the road that this lion is following, and we'll then get some great visuals of him. racing down the road towards us, so stand by. If you want to drive behind him for a moment, I can get some pictures for you and your guests. Yes, of course. Absolutely beautiful. Just going to shoot off because I don't want him to veer off his track, which is this road. But this is their turf, so we kind of have to bend and weave for the animals. Through from Diane in Michigan. Good morning, Diane, and welcome. I hope you're enjoying the sighting with us. Diane is interested to know how tall he is. Now, if I was to stand next to him, the top of his back would probably be above my waist, so around 3.5 feet at the shoulder, 3.5 to 4 feet at the shoulder, but obviously when he stands with his head raised up, that would give him another foot or so. So this is the dried up water hole on our left that he is going to be coming past shortly. And it's so great for us to be able to see them and follow them, because when we are tracking them in the future, we can be aware of likely routes that they may take. Listen. Well, I certainly didn't expect that, and it's something that I've been hoping to share with you for such a long time. Apologies for not moving the vehicle, but it was such a beautiful noise to hear that male lion calling, and to start up the vehicle and move just to see him wouldn't have made sense. It made more sense just to sit still and keep quiet and listen to him roar. And we could literally feel the roar vibrating through our body. It sends shivers down your spine, and I'm so happy that just happened. Now, you may be wondering, why has he vocalized like that? Why was he communicating like that? It's hard to say exactly why, but in all likelihood he's letting other lions know that he's here and possibly calling out to other members of the coalition that he may be wanting to join up with. Oh, that was incredible. And it's been many months since I've been here. For 5 months I have not heard a lion vocalize like that, and if there's one thing that I could choose for my guests to see on safari, one thing, it would be that. So it's been a long time since I've heard it, and possibly a lot of for you the first time that you may have heard it, and I hope you really enjoyed that. We're going through quite a thick area here, so we will continue to leapfrog, and it won't be too much longer that this line will be passing the area of Kunyuma, which is a young male leopard that made a kill earlier this morning. For those of you who have joined the show more recently, we started off with a male leopard and its kill, and it did kill a small duiker, which is a little antelope. It was a big duiker, but it is a small antelope. They're fully grown, are very small. And that leopard has now hoisted the kill up into tree and has yet to start feeding on it. But this lion may well know that something's been happening up here, and he may smell the kill, smell the leopard, and then we may have some very interesting interactions on our hand. Got a message through from Beth on Twitter, and she just said her 4 dogs all woke up immediately when they heard that lion roaring, and I'm not surprised, Beth. It's interesting how even domestic animals can often respond to the call of wild animals. Try and relocate from that side. Here's some tree squirrels alarm calling, so it sounds like he is still on the move. And thankfully, just up ahead of us, there's a road that loops us into a riverbed that he in all likelihood is heading down in towards. Be our best option. I actually got a little bit confused there, to be entirely honest, and thought we were further down the riverbed. So where are we going to get into this riverbed now in order to view him? Yeah. Alex, where you now? Okay, copy. Yeah, we stayed and watched him until we lost visual completely, but he did appear to continue heading upstream in the Mawati. Well, what a great morning it's been so far. And now, because the vegetation is very thick, again, we're going to have to pull out our patient pants and just be a little bit relaxed and wait and see if this lion doesn't pop out at any stage. Just got a question through from Wendy in Kentucky, and while we wait for this lion to pop out again, it's a good opportunity to take to answer this question. So Wendy would like to know whether this lion would be able to climb up the tree where the leopard hoisted its kill, and I think there's a chance the lion would be able to get up the specific tree, but they are not good climbers, lions. They are not nearly as agile and good at climbing as leopards are, and can often injure themselves when climbing up trees or even trying to climb down from the tree. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. A lot would also depend again on the individual lion. Some lions may be slightly better climbers than others, and with my experience of these lions, which is very little, it's hard for me to be able to predict whether he would be likely to climb, because I've never seen him in that situation before. Now, by sitting and waiting in one spot, even though we cannot see anything and it's very thick, just like how we found Kunyuma, the young male leopard, this morning, by stopping and listening, you can be alerted to different predators by a variety of other animals that will alarm call as the predator moves through the area. Squirrels, various birds, monkeys, antelope, all have different alarm calls that they will let out as soon as they see a predator. So if we just sit and wait and listen, that may be more beneficial than driving around kind of aimlessly through this very, very thick vegetation. Through from Terry in California, and I did touch on it briefly earlier, but I'll reiterate this. And Terry's interested to know if this male lion is part of a coalition, which he is, why would he be moving alone? And I guess, you know, just like a sports team, you could say, people have got different opinions and different ideas as to what exactly they may want to do with their time, and they've got different preferences, you could say. So this male may have felt like heading in one direction and one of the other coalition members in another, and they just go their separate ways. They know they can rejoin with one another. They know that there's not a huge threat to them by being alone. So they do very often split up coalitions, and this also allows them to patrol more effectively. A coalition of 4 male lions can acquire a massive territory, and that's all fine and well. But if all 4 of them stay together permanently, let's say it's 4 males in a coalition, they can't expect to check their territory for any intruders. Therefore, splitting up and covering different areas of their territory, they can more effectively patrol and police their turf, and also check in with the prides of lioness that will fall into their area to check for any mating opportunities. So they're basically dividing and conquering, you could say, and it's not uncommon for them to split up and rejoin. And if even us as humans can hear lions' audio, just like we heard it vocalized earlier, from 5 miles away, I would be very curious to know how far it is that they can hear. They can probably communicate with one another over 15 to possibly even 20 miles easily. Their hearing is so much better than ours, and along with most of their senses, I guess. And therefore, communicating and regrouping with one another is not difficult when they want to. Any luck there, Lex? So, what I'm thinking is to loop across onto the northern side of the Mulwati riverbed, which is the riverbed he cut into. And there's a chance he may be tending more in a northerly direction, so he may have crossed out of the riverbed. And I know that they do often work along a certain route in that direction, so we'll leave Lex in the riverbed and we'll loop around, hoping that he's going to pop out. It is a bit of a gamble, but it kind of makes more sense than everyone's waiting in one area to split up and try and relocate this animal as be that it continues straight up the riverbed to this dam. They have spent time here in the past, but there are enough people in this area viewing the leopard. If the lion comes past them, they're going to be in for some luck. But we will loop around to an area where currently nobody is, and that way it just increases our chances of relocating him. So that all of you know, this morning exactly what happened with Kunyuma. We were driving across the dam wall here at Vuyatela Dam, and as we drop down into this little dip below us, we will show you where we initially had the first glimpse of this young male leopard this morning. Just as we got to this position that we saw him slinking off down to our right, and that's where he continued down into the riverbed and was fortunate enough to make a Daika kill. And just so that you know, all the people that follow the live cam, if VM just pans to the left, sorry VM, there's a bit of a gully that's hidden from view of the waterhole camera. So this is where he would have snuck past without anyone on the waterhole camera being able to see him.